Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Christmas edition of PGTips. I'm Gary in Stockholm.
Hi, I'm Paul in Barnsley, and we wanted to make this festive edition for everyone. So we're going to have a look at some of the books that have meant a lot to us over the years. And we tried to ask 5 friends to join us, but because of the pressures of Christmas and the timetables of everyone, we've only managed to get 3 more to join us, but not even synchronized with me and Gary, because Gary's going to shoot off shortly. So me and Gary are going to kick off, and we're going to start by me asking Gary, when you grew up, Gary, in America, did you have books at Christmas time?
Of course, yeah. Christmas was a time when we received books, and the number one Christmas book that I received that I can't forget is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. And of course, the whole Dr. Seuss collection, we would get them, periodically through that time. That was I was in Dr. Seuss time. I loved reading those books to my kids, and I still love them today. And then following that, there became films and stuff like that too, which were fantastic. But How the Grinch Stole Christmas is one of my favorite kids' books, both to read and then to read to my own kids.
I'm going to surprise you now and tell you that I've never seen the book and I've never seen the film the whole way through. I can't
Oh
believe
my
I've
good.
managed not to see the whole film. I've seen little bits of the film, parts of the film, but I've never seen it the whole way through.
All right, yeah. So there's like a Jim Carrey version of the film or something, and then there's an even newer one. Those are not at all like the ones that I grew up. The one I grew up with is a cartoon film, and it's probably only like a half hour long. That's the one you should see. It's very good. I'll try to find if there's a link. I'll try to find one for you. It's like the number one best version of the book that's filmed. So definitely, I would definitely skip the film versions and go to this, whatever it is, 70s cartoon version that I grew up with, which was just great. Yeah.
I bet that would help because I think the film I found a little bit slick and formulaic. Maybe that's why I've not sat and watched it the whole way through. But I know it's a
Yeah.
favorite for many people. But yeah, I'll try and find the book as well. That'll
Yeah,
help.
the book is really great. I mean, I have the whole collection of Dr. Seuss here, and but I actually had separate, obviously separate books when I was a kid, and I still have some separate Dr. Seuss books. But it's really a Christmas classic for me. I really, really love reading it, and I try to read it every year, just like I try to read Dickens every year too. Every year I always try to read that because I think when you hear the Scrooge story, it doesn't take that long to read the whole thing, and it always gives me a certain kind of special feeling. So I read it last year, and I'll try to read it again over the holidays this year.
Yeah, they're so rich. I have read
Yeah,
them in the past, but it's more the films I would opt to see the Dickens
yeah,
films. And
yeah,
even though it's vintage and nostalgic, it does say Christmas, I think.
definitely. It's like crazy. Yeah.
Any other
Yeah, and
recommendations?
a second book is a little bit more recent to me. It wasn't a thing that I grew up with, but it's a book that I think is just really beautiful, and it's William Joyce's Jack from the Guardians of Childhood, Jack Frost. And I really like William Joyce's work. I think the book Jack Frost is beautiful to look at, and I also think actually the Guardians of Childhood film was really well done as well. He kind of his illustrations and the overall work is very filmic. It almost kind of gives the feeling of a storyboard anyway.
Yeah.
And how Jack Frost becomes Jack Frost and the whole relationship with the winter and all of the different let's say holidays, the guardians of childhood, like Easter comes in, and you have Santa Claus, and you have all these different characters coming in together, and how they kind of are interwoven, and then Jack Frost as a main character that you might not have necessarily thought of before.
Mm.
um, Really is a nice twist, and the way that it's done is I think it's very beautiful, and I love especially the artwork. Yeah, for me it's really good, and I enjoyed the recent film that was made of that. Maybe it was, I don't know, now it's probably around 8 to 10 years old. I don't know exactly, but that movie is really, really nice movie too.
The books came first. Well, they're not the book of the
Definitely.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The book came first. Yeah.
Right. It's good that the older books persist because I guess these days kids are going to think the film Frozen is very Christmassy. and then they'll go on
Oh
to
yeah.
book versions of that. But it's good that the old classic books persist, and we still get those. I've got a couple of books on my Christmas list. I'm hoping I'm going to get them. I'm not going to talk about those today because we're talking about ones that have meant something from our past. But I think Christmas always does mean books, going off into a corner, getting some chocolate out, spending time looking over a book. I don't have any books from my childhood that I've got on the bookshelf. Maybe I've rebought some if they're out of print. Have you?
Yeah.
I guess your boys don't have any books these days. Are they too old for
Yeah,
books?
nowadays they don't want any, although actually my oldest son, now he's 17, he's starting to get interested in books, and he's reading not Christmas books, but he's starting to read a lot more. He was like a non-reader, but that persistence, I think, pays off. Of course, I read to him when he was a kid, and then he went through this period of young teen where he's like, oh, I don't want to read. And that's where the 15-year-old is now. But I think actually what's happening is he's starting to rediscover this idea of reading. He asked me a lot of questions about it. He's actually reading about, he loves Marcus Aurelius Meditations. He's thinking about his own life and the philosophy of life and all that stuff. So yeah, so maybe there is a Christmas book for him in the Christmas packages that I'll buy for him, because he's starting to really open up to books again, and physical books as well, not just listening or something.
Give you an idea as well of what to maybe think about creating for someone, a reader like him, like Max.
Yeah, definitely. The more I think you and I have discussed it, there's a kind of feeling inside of me I get, maybe it's a reflection of my own kids, but I identify with the kind of teen world, and I feel like my last novel was a young teen, and I think that probably my work is becoming more and more oriented towards that kind of middle grade YA group, because I can identify with that a lot.
I've not bought my nephew and nieces any specific book, but we've got them book vouchers. So I'm looking to going down to the local bookshop and helping them choose.
Oh, that's nice.
And then choose some books.
Yeah.
You'll not be able to.
Do you take them? So you make it into like a little adventure, I guess, or
yeah. Hopefully we'll go down there together and choose something. So,
that's so
we'll
good.
all get together with our other friends and colleagues, but we'll wish everyone a happy Christmas now.
Yeah. One more thing, Paul. I can't wait to see Bug Belly Christmas. It's going to happen, right?
Oh, well, I've done Bug Belly Christmas cards, and I've seen Bug Belly in a Christmas hat, and I've seen him with.
And I've received a Bug Belly Christmas card, but I can imagine, as the series progresses, Bug Belly's Christmas or something be very funny.
That'd be nice if it was
eating all the pies.
That's worth getting my notebook out and putting a few ideas down over Christmas. You never know.
Yeah. All right. We'll have a great conversation with the rest of the group. I can't wait to hear everybody's their sort of inspiration, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in the new year for our next edition.
Hi, welcome back everyone to another PG Tips, Paul and Gary's top kidlit tips. Except there's no Gary now, as we know he's gone off to record a concert. But we are joined by three of our friends. 3 Scooby colleagues who we've known over the years, and we're going to talk about our Christmas books. Not necessarily books that are going to be in our Christmas stocking or on our Christmas wish list this year, but books that mean something to us over the Christmas period. So we've got Tita Berredo. Hi, Tita.
Hi, everyone.
Tita's author, illustrator, and is also illustration coordinator of British SCBWI, or Scooby for short in future. We've got Rebecca Colby. Hi, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Very busy author writer with over 40 book titles to her name, including the one behind her, The Christmas Blunder, the title Captain Bling's Christmas Plunder. Hi, Rebecca. And we've got Mike Brownlow, illustrator and author, illustrator, and probably better known for his 10 Little series. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of 10 Little books in Christmas stockings this Christmas. And there is a Christmas themed book, isn't there, Mike? Amongst the 10.
Yeah, very much so.
10 Little Elves.
10 Little Elves, yes, which is about 6 years old now, but keeps being trotted out at Christmas time. And yeah, it's nice to see it in the shops again.
Brilliant. So what's your first book, Mike, that you're going to share with us?
My first book is The Jolly Christmas Postman. I'll just hold it up for you. It's by Janet and Alan Alberg, and it was the second in the series that they did featuring the Jolly Postman. Yeah. And I've always been big fans of Janet and Alan Alberg, and this was a book that came out in, I think it was 1988, and it my children were born in the 80s, so the Jolly Postman always featured quite heavily at bedtime readings. And the genius of this book and the whole series is that every spread has its own little story to tell. So it starts out with the Jolly Postman. He's visiting various fairy tale characters like Cinderella and the Big Bad Bear and so forth. But everything that he delivers has its own little card within a card, or a story within a card. He's delivering books, he's delivering cards, he's delivering all over the place, and it's just so beautifully written and so beautifully illustrated.
I remember that our original The Jolly Postman got worn out with kids looking at the envelopes and the postcards. I think I bought that 3 times.
I have the original here, and it's held together with sellotape. It's much loved and much used, and the Jolly Christmas Postman is arguably the best of the bunch. I thought it was a beautiful bit of work, full of delightful little jokes. The details in this, I don't know if you can get this, but this is when he's delivering to old King Cole. He's got at the back there is the sort of logo of the Grenadiers, and their motto is neither up nor down. It's just a little throwaway joke, but absolutely in keeping with the whole of the book. It's just packed with ideas, and of course the beautiful illustrations of Janet Alberg were always an inspiration to me. And sadly she died in the 90s, but Alan is still with us, and it's just the perfect Christmas book.
It's one of those books that you think, I wish we'd done that. I wish I'd had that idea and done that.
I believe the Jolly, exactly, for monetary reasons, if nothing else, the Jolly Postman apparently sold over 6 million copies. So it's and they're still on sale today. So they're an incredible achievement. I love them to bits.
Brilliant, wonderful book to kick off with. Rebecca, what's your
good morning. Thank you for having me, Paul. My first book is called Father Christmas Needs a Wee. One I can relate to. I love humorous books, and this is filled with funny moments. It's a rhyming book. It's great for toddlers because it's all about counting. You count up to 10 and then you count backwards back down to 1. First spread, Father Christmas needs a wee. He's been drinking drinks since 3:30. And he visits these 10 homes. He has drinks and treats at each place and fails to put the presents out. He completely forgets that as he's drinking his way through the properties. So he then he needs a wee because he's drunk all this liquid, but he has to go back to all these houses in reverse order and put the gifts out before he dashes home. And I don't know if I should spoil it for you, but let's just say when he gets home, he can't use the toilet right away either because he realizes he's lost his house key.
Oh, no.
And I'll leave it there and let everyone read it so they can find out what the ending is. But
the big question is always, how does he get down the chimney? But someone's obviously thought, well, what happens to all these drinks that he has? He must need to go to a loo sometime.
Yeah, I think we all do in the cold weather as well. I can certainly relate to that. But just a hilarious book, and as I say, it's in rhyme, and it's one that children can join in if they've heard it enough times, and a great laugh.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rebecca. Tita? I never asked, growing up in Brazil, did you have Christmas books? Did you have Christmas?
Yes, we have Christmas in Brazil too, Paul. The funny thing in Brazil is, well, in Rio, is that in Christmas time is the hottest in Rio. So, and that's one of the reasons why I knew that Santa Claus was my father, not only because he disappeared whilst Santa Claus came in, but they had the same sweat spots all over. So, hey, in that case, it was my father. In most cases, it's Santa Claus himself, of course. But it was Brazil. But growing up, I think we have the same kind of decorations, and with like winter decorations, which makes it even like hilarious with snow and everything. But yeah, growing up was thinking about the snow and thinking about how the Santa got inside the houses and delivered the Christmas presents was really what I was paying attention to. And I'm so glad that you asked that, because the book that I chose is How Does Santa Go Down the Chimney by John Klassen. It's his new book. And I absolutely love this book because it's in that kind of John Klassen style of just having an internal monologue, or like something that sounds like a joke. So how does he do it? And does he get a belt and get all squished up? Or does he shrink himself like a mouse? And I love this because it gives that kind of impossible, freedom of imagination. That is not only like human solutions, but he can get squiggly and become like a fire, or he can do the original thing as well. Like, does he go head first, feet first, butt first? And if he goes, like, I think this is my favorite, like if he goes down the faucet, the tap.
That looks wildly imaginative. I shall look forward to seeing that. I've not seen that one yet. Thanks for that. When I was young, Christmas always meant books, but I don't remember any actual picture books. I used to love reading comics throughout the year. But Christmas time meant like getting the Dandy Annual or the Beano Annual, Topper, Hotspur. So I used to love like breaking open one of the selection boxes and going off with my Christmas annual and reading through the comic books. So actually looking back, I can't remember any picture books. So the two books I've chosen, they still feel nostalgic, but they hark back to when I was an art student, when I first came across them and bought them. The first one is not a picture book. It's young fiction, The Mouse and His Child, by another husband-wife team, Mike, like the Allbergs, Russell and Lillian Auburn. And there's some wonderful Ardizoni-esque black and white illustrations in there from Lillian Auburn. Do any of you know this book, The Mouse?
No, it's a new one on me.
It feels like a classic. And Joan Masefield's A Box of Delights, that's really Christmassy. And it's a bit Dickensian in its way. But it's about this little clockwork mouse and father who, all the animals in a toy shop come alive at Christmas at midnight. And they want to know who they are. Where do we belong in this world? And there's a tramp looking through the window, and he introduces them. He's watching them, and they start dancing. And they live in front of this elegant doll's house with sparkly lights, and that's where they love to go, inside this house. But they're bought and eventually get broken. But the tramp comes back and he mends them because he's an expert mender of toys. But then he just sets them down on the highway and say, go and find the world. So this story is about two clockwork mice going through the countryside, meeting baddies like Manny the Rat, being chased by owls and weasels, and there's a shrew war. and it all comes back in and ties up nicely and ends at a Christmas time. And I'll not spoil the ending, but it's like a mini epic. And I thought that perfect for a film. So I checked yesterday if there'd been a film, and there was. This was published in the 70s, 1977. There was a cartoon, not very good, but it had some good reviews. So there is a film out about this, but it's a wonderful read. And even though it's only black and white pictures and written word, they conjure up sounds and smells of Christmas, and it's so graphic and clear and colourful. So I'd recommend that for a good read. Back to you, Mike. What's your second choice, please?
My second choice it's stretching the definition of a Christmas book a little bit, but it's set in midwinter, so I think it just about qualifies. It's called Lulu and the Flying Babies, and it's by Posy Simmonds. And again, she's another of my heroes of illustration and writing. She's got the most incredible photographic memory for faces and fashions. I don't know of any other writer illustrator who can conjure up a period quite as well as Posy Simmonds. And this is about a little girl called Lulu who is going for a walk with her dad and her little baby brother to the local museum. And she really doesn't want to go, and she's having a bit of a strop. What's fantastic, I think, about this book is Posy's ability to not only conjure up time and place, but atmosphere as well. And if you look at this spread that I'm going to show now, if you can see that, it's a perfect evocation of a cold, grey winter's day, just when the snow is beginning to fall. And they go to the museum, and she's still having a strop. Her dad goes off to look at a dinosaur, leaving Lulu next to some paintings and a sculpture. The sculpture is of a little putty, a little baby with wings, and there's another little baby with wings in one of the classical paintings. And suddenly the two babies start talking to Lulu, and she snaps out of a strop. She becomes very interested, and this is just another lovely spread where she takes the two babies, lift her off into the air, and take her into the paintings. So the Dutch masters are referenced, and Lowry, and painters like Rousseau and Landseer, and they have adventures throughout the gallery and through jumping from painting to painting until eventually they come to one that's a little too scary, and they decide that they have to go back and catch up and actually find Daddy. So she goes back, and they go to the lost property section, and the gentleman who's behind the desk points them in the direction of the father, so everything ends nicely, and off she goes with her dad, and she's quite happy in the end. But the two flying babies have to be taken back home by the lost property gentleman. So everyone is happy in the end, and it's just one of those delightful stories that conjures up midwinter for me, simply by the colour palette that she uses as much as anything. It's a delightful story, and I'm full of admiration for Posy, not least because she married my personal tutor, who was at when I was at Central School of Art and Design. My personal tutor was Richard Hollis, who's a terrific designer, a terrific mentor, and she and Posy, have been married ever since, I think. So Yeah, a terrific story, and love it to bits.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mike. I know Paisley's work from other books. I know of that book, but I've not seen it. I know she does some excellent graphic novels. Brilliant at capturing people and places.
Oh, she's incredibly prolific. Yes, she worked for The Guardian a lot for years. Mrs. Webber's Diary was probably the most famous of her creations, but to turn something like that out on a weekly basis is an incredible achievement.
It was just draw and draw all the time.
Yeah, she's got the most effortless style. It's really beautiful.
Rebecca, your second offering, please.
Sure, thank you. So it's not a Christmas book, but it is a book that reminds me of Christmas. It's Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder and illustrated by Garth Williams. And one of the reasons it reminds me, well, there is a chapter in Christmas. All of chapter 4 is about Christmas. And you can probably tell from my funny accent that I grew up in the States. This takes place in the state of Wisconsin, which is quite cold in the winter, gets lots of snow. I lived in Wisconsin when I was 11 or 12, and again, a little bit as an adult, and most of my immediate family live in Wisconsin. So it brings back a lot of memories of what it was like with winters there and the heavy snow. And so they're celebrating Christmas. And this takes place in the 1870s. She didn't write this book till she was in her 60s, and she's reliving these moments of her childhood. And the Christmas, her gift was a pair of mittens and 1 stick of peppermint candy. And then she got an additional gift over all the other children, her sisters and the cousins that had come in. She also got a rag doll. But that was all she got for Christmas. None of the other children were envious that she got an extra gift because she was the youngest, and that's the way they saw it. And nobody was upset because they just got mittens and candy. Just a very simple way of life. And they went out and played in the snow and made pictures by jumping in the snow, and wherever they landed, whatever kind of picture it made of their form in the snow. And yeah, so it just, although I obviously grew up in a much later period of time, it reminds me of those simple moments from my own childhood of playing in the snow. And Christmas is very much about family, and it's not the commercial aspects, and it just kind of takes me away from that when I read it. I think it's a very special book in many ways, but I do love this chapter about Christmas. And also in 2019, my daughters and I went to visit our family in Wisconsin, and the home that Laura Ingalls Wilder lived in is open to the public. So we went to visit it because we're related, distantly related. Laura Ingalls Wilder's paternal grandmother was a Colby. So I think I'm like an 8th cousin, 3 times removed, whatever that means. My mom's done the genealogy. So yeah, lots of reasons I love this book.
Sounds evocative. Is it a picture book?
No, sorry, it's middle grade. There are pictures in it. There's lovely black and white illustrations by Garth Williams. And there's the one for the chapter on Christmas itself.
Right, thank you.
So you've probably heard of Little House on the Prairie. That was a TV series many years ago, and that was her second book, I believe. This was the first one that was popular.
Lovely, brilliant. Thank you. Tita, have you got a second offering, please?
Yes. So I picked a wordless picture book because I absolutely love wordless picture book. And one that everyone knows, probably Those Snowmen by Raymond Briggs. And I just love it. The whole little frames of like how to make it lengthy, like how to make a picture book have hundreds of pages. And it's absolutely lovely illustrations, and it tells the story of this boy who gets down his house, and it's winter time and it's snowing. And growing up in Brazil, I was really fascinated with snow, and I only got to see and experience snow in my adulthood. Now that I live in Scotland, and whenever it snows, I become this little boy and play around. But I love the illustrations that show a little bit of, again, the small things in the house, and how the boy moves, and how he picks up the coal and builds up this marvelous snowman, and how Raymond Briggs was able to do that in like very simple and movements and in his drawings, and making also very dynamic with like scenes from inside the house, from outside the house, the perspective of the boy going to sleep, boy having fun with the snowman, and of course the following day when it's sunny and he runs downstairs and the poor snowman is gone. So it's a lovely book that touches many subjects, just that childish ability of entertaining themselves with their imagination, which I am so fond of and try to bring to my own illustrations, and how you can have so much fun with a new toy or a new friend, and then they move, or you lost it, it's gone, and or it melts, but you have the fond memories of that time. Funny detail, I always kind of found this snowman a bit scary because he was just massive and like a round shape and didn't move his eyes, and it was just so I was like, I really like the snow, not so much the snowman, but the story is beautiful. So I thought that would be a nice second choice.
The trouble these days is that the film will have replaced the memories of a lot of people. But when you go back to the original, the book, and like you said, there's so much work there to study the detail in that. As illustrators, we know just how much time just one of those double-page spreads would have taken, let alone the whole book. And I can't remember now, did I read whether Raymond Briggs liked the film or not? Do you know that, Mike? I do remember reading one way or the other, but I can't remember whether he was happy with the film or he detested the film.
I honestly don't know whether he liked it or not. I've not heard rumours one way or the other, but I can't imagine that he'd be unhappy with it, because it was so lovingly done and it was so accurate in terms of reproducing his style.
It kind of capture his soft.
And of course, as any film of a book tends to do, they embellish a little bit, but it was very much, I thought, in the spirit of the book. So I'd be very surprised if he didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got that on the bookshelf somewhere, and his Father Christmas. It's always stomping about in a 10% blooming Christmas.
Yes.
Someone
needs to make a film of that one, because it's a very funny book.
I think the second book choice of mine, I'll be very brief with, because we might be running out of time. And again, it's a nostalgic one I bought when I was an art student. And I first bought, I think, The Church Cat Abroad, Graham Oakley, written and illustrated, a whole series of the church cat and the church mice. And the one that I immediately remembered when I was thinking about recommending some books was The Church Mouse at Christmas. Just a coincidence that they're both mice in the title of mine. But there's so much work involved, again, like Raymond Briggs's Father Christmas. Just look at down to detail in that one panel on a spread. And I think, looking back at it now with a critical eye and knowing what we know of these days, I'm sure someone would have recommended this to be an early reader, a chapter book. Because there's about 800, 900 going on for 1,000 words in some of these books. And they're just absolutely packed. And there's lots of themes that circle going through the book, not one arc of a story. And this one is later and seems quite muddy in places with the watercolour, where an earlier one, I think that was like cleaner inks rather than watercolour. But the whole series I really like. And Samson, the church cat, is always beleaguered by the mice. He's a friend of the mice. And in the church mouse, they need to raise some funds to have a Christmas party. So they persuade Samson the cat to be raffled as the first prize. It doesn't all go to plan. And another thing I wanted to say about the church mice, as well as it being possibly in a chapter book these days, it could easily be a graphic novel. Like the Father Christmas books and the Snowman book, Tita, has been described sometimes as one of the first graphic novels in the UK. And I can easily see that this is a lot more work still, but this could also be a graphic novel. So I'd highly recommend if you get hold of that somewhere, maybe in charity shop. I don't think it's in print anymore. Church Mice by Graham Oakley. So thanks for that, everyone. We're going to put a list or a screen grab of all those pictures on screen so that we can all have a look at them and maybe try and get hold of copies. I'll be interested in seeing some of those. So all that remains is for me to say thanks to Tita, Rebecca and Mike for joining us on PG Tips. We're back next year and hopefully we'll be in touch again because we're going to need tips and techniques on storytelling, plotting, illustration. So watch this space, everyone, and thank you and goodbye. Bye.
Happy Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.